How many of you gentlemen consider yourself generally intelligent? To see your hands. Wrong. I'll tell you where you're wrong. You see, it very definitely does not say, gentlemen, it does not say, seek ye first a woman. Then what are you doing seeking first a woman? It's because you don't understand anything above that level. And no wonder all your contacts with women are disastrous, all of them. Because you bring your disastrous nature right into that relationship. And she sighs. How many of you ladies have ever sighed? You know, here we go again, huh? And you wonder if the pattern can be changed. Now, you can't change the way a man behaves toward you. There's no way anything you do can make him considerate, thoughtful, strong, competent. There's nothing you can do at all. But you try. Or rather, instead of you trying, your desperation tries. Ladies, look at the false logic of how you're proceeding in your relationship with a man. You're lonely? Of course you are. It's a big scary world to you, isn't it, ladies? Of course it is. And you don't know how to handle it. But you're female, nicely female. And that femaleness in you says, I look out there and I see other types of human beings that are called men. And you're attracted to them. Quite naturally, no effort involved. And then, ladies, age of 12, 13, 16, you start making more personal contacts with men outside of your brother, right? You go out into the world and you see them looking at you and flirting in shy ways with you. And you start making contacts with men and you're all excited. And then you meet a few of them and the excitement is replaced by dismay. Now, this is the same thing that everyone runs into in life when you're young. And you go out and you expect something from someone else. And you ladies, feeling the quite natural attraction to a man, you go out and get involved with them and find out that they're weak, that they are looking to you for decisions, and instead of taking the initiative, they wait for you to take it. And now you're in conflict. The conflict consisting of a natural desire for you to have a nice, good, pleasant relationship with a nice man, a good man. That's what you want. Okay, fine, so far. But you can't get what you want. Isn't it hard? Yeah. How difficult it is to go out there and find a man that has all these virtues and qualities that we're talking about. Now, it just so happens, ladies, that seek ye first the kingdom of heaven, and all else shall be added to you, applies very much, whether you know it or not, whether you understand it or not, to your relationships to men. And you go right out and do exactly the same thing that the man does. Now we've got two mistakes. Two mistakes coming together. Both of you looking to each other. Both of you hoping to find fulfillment, and you have your pet little dreams, don't you, of what your security is like. Him holding you while you watch television or have dinner together, whatever. You both have your pet dreams. The man mostly about sex itself. And nothing happens right. Now, I want you to know that the primary purpose, ladies, you put on earth was not to meet a man and get married and have children. Why are you violating a spiritual law by doing that? I am telling you, you can't win and you'll never win. You don't understand what we're doing here in this class. To try to tell you that seeking the kingdom first means to seek and put the kingdom first. Now, the mistake you make is not really with the man. You make it with your own mistake in not putting reality first, truth first, your self-development first. And so an incomplete woman, a scared woman who senses the naturalness and the rightness of the protection of a man, you go out there and instead of seeing men as all weak, you say, I'll play a little game with myself. And you watch what happens in your future years and see if you're so stupid as to continue after you've heard this morning, this afternoon. You look out and you discard, 99 out of 100? They're not right for you. And then your desperation and your loneliness and your wish to be held, not sex so much, but the wish to be held, which is okay. That becomes so strong that your imagination takes place over intelligence and you say, this is the one. Here he is. I thought if I'd look long enough, I'd find him. Didn't you say that before the last one? Huh? And look what happened. So the difficulty is that we have two immature human beings who have been told the facts and you choose to ignore them. The next time either one of you cries about it, it is your fault and you have no excuse at all. Now we'll change over to the men a little bit. See, you're so filled with sex thoughts, so filled with certain wrong thoughts about what you want from a woman. Maybe you want to dominate her. Maybe you want her security, which shows how terrible you are in your own thinking. You forget, or rather you never knew in the first place, so I'm going to tell you this afternoon. You never knew in the first place the one single ingredient that will make it absolutely perfect, and I don't mean 99%, as far as you're concerned, because it's your life that you're concerned with. The one thing that will make your relationship with every woman on earth perfectly right. No exceptions. I don't care what the woman is like. I told you that the other night. Whether she likes you or dislikes you. If you are a king, say you're the king of a country, aren't you in charge of everything in that nation? Now, gentlemen, if you are a right human being, there is no way you could ever behave wrongly toward a woman. And if she sees you, she'll chase you. She has seen so much junk in men, so much trash in you, that if she sees any man that really has taken one piece of gold from the kingdom and is walking around with it, she will recognize that part as being real. And she'll be attracted to you. And look, any normal, halfway normal woman is able to recognize whether a man has that or not. Only if the woman herself wants gold. Let's clear another fact out of the way. Let's see. Well, let's get some figures. Out of every 500,000 male-female relationships, one of them is a situation in which both have a little bit of gold. The rest, and your memory will fill in the blank spots, the rest are nothing but a horror story. Now I'll ask you again, all of you, do you really want to go back to that? Is that what you want, to go back? Remember those horrible fights? You about threw everything but the couch at him, and you would have done that if you could have picked it up. And he sulked like a little child. You were both hurt. This class automatically includes rightness in, let's go get right to the point. Rightness in sex itself. See, that's a part of the male-female relationship, isn't it? If you want to go ahead and be embarrassed by what I'm going to say, you go ahead, but I want you to be conscious of it. This is a part of your spiritual therapy, to listen to what I'm going to tell you. Think about it consciously, so it isn't the tiger roaming around in the basement anymore and you're afraid to look at it. You know, you ignore it so you can begin to look at it. I want all of you, both you men and you women, to think. Now, you think deliberately and conscious for a marvelous purpose. I want you to think of all the wrong sex experiences you've ever had in your life. And by the way, by knowing human nature, I know that many of you, the majority of you here, have had all kind, I'm talking about the sex act itself, have had all kind of variety of wrong sex acts, haven't you? You don't even have to nod your head. I know it. Now, this is a part of the past, of your conditioning, which discolors, which distorts your present relationships toward men and women, both looking at each other, because you are looking at that new man, at that new woman in your life through the screen, and I'm just taking the one area of wrong sex relationships alone, looking at him or her through the screen of your own past wrongness, of which you feel ashamed, and you should. I don't have to fill in details. You know what I'm talking about. You know, nature knows when you do something wrong sexually. I know you know what I'm talking about. And nature also knows when there is simple, plain, pure, natural, right sex. You know that too, because you never have a sense of wrongness in that. You know what's right and what's wrong. So you see a present woman, a present man, through the screen of everything that you have ever done or been sexually wrong in the past. That colors it, and it puts fear into you. It puts anxiety into you. Look, women, please. You look at a man and you wonder if he's going to treat you all right sexually or romantically or any other way. Why do you think that at all? What has he got to do with your life? Why are you thinking and wondering and hoping he's going to treat you right? What does he have to do with you? You never thought of that, did you? You look out and already you're apprehensive. You ask the question, don't you? And it's a perfectly good, normal question. What does he want? And you answer that pretty promptly too, don't you? He wants sex, first of all. Then anything else that comes along is okay. Back to the point. Ladies, when you look at a man and you're a little bit attracted to him, a lot attracted to him, it kind of looks, okay to him, watch your own reactions to it. And you will find that there's only one thing on the face of this earth that caused you to have trouble with men, which is you. If if you don't see yourself clearly in romance and in sex, if you can't think, if you can't be spiritually clear, your only alternative when any of you meet any man is to make a mistake. I guarantee you, unless you put the kingdom of heaven first, clear yourself sexually from the past, romantically, from all your daydreams about how a man is going to be. Unless you do that, it is absolutely guaranteed that you're going to have problems. How long does it take? 3 days after meeting him that you have your first doubts? Or soon after that? But again, back to the main point. See, you're making a great mistake. You think that having a man in your life has something to do with your happiness. Let's change the word a little bit. You think that having a man in your life has something to do with your contentment. It doesn't at all. Some of you ladies might be embarrassed if I was to ask you personally, which I won't do, of course. If I was to ask you how many boyfriends you've had since you were 14 years old. Quite a string, some of you, huh? Remember those horrid experiences because you were stupid. Right now, by that clock, on this Saturday afternoon, it's about 18 minutes after 2. And reckoning by human time, and taking that as human time for a little reference point, you can start by human reckon time at 18 minutes after 2 to never again be the victim of yourself, therefore never again be the victim of any man's exterior charm. Well, when you look at a man, ladies, what attracts you? Oh, I know what you'll say. And you'll say if he's nice looking, or if he's gentlemanly, or if he has money, or whatever you judge him by. You'll say that. All under the assumption that you've made since you're 14, 12 years old, ladies, some of you, maybe younger than that. The same foolish, destructive assumption you've had all your life, that meeting a man is going to make a difference in your level of contentment. The only difference it might have made, ladies, right, is that your level of contentment descended considerably after a while. Now, either you are right in your present attitudes toward men, which is what counts. Either you are right or truth is right. Now, which are you going to live with? You know what the answer to that is. You look at the results of you maintaining and promoting your present hopes toward a man, thinking that he can give you something. Look, let me tell you something. You go out with a man and you think he's big and strong, and he takes a little decision in ordering the dinner or whatever, and you feel secure that he is taking the lead. I told you that truth must come first, not that man. If you were right, you could have a right relationship. I'm telling you, you never will have one until you are right yourself inwardly. You men too. The very same forward-going principle applies. I see you, I watch you, and I know what you put first. Some of you are so dumb, so spiritually ignorant, that you think thinking about a woman is a good thing. You should never think about a woman, never. What real good, gentlemen, does it do for you to ever think about a woman? Come on, I'll tell you what it does. It fills your mind. You get excited when you think about her, don't you? If you think you're making progress with her, your flirtation is working out okay a little bit at a time. You know, you don't want to get rejected, so you play it pretty slow at the start, right? So in case she turns you down, you can always say, well, I was just kidding, and lie to yourself. These are called rationalizations, right? But things seem to go pretty well with you, and you get a little closer to her, and you start to get all excited, and all the angels up there in the clouds looking down cry. What a foolish man. Never having given himself anything true and good and worthwhile and lasting, never having first given it to himself, he has nothing to give to her. And they're both going to cry too. How many couples married for 30, 40, 50, 60 years do you suppose there are who spend time together crying together? And they have their 50th wedding anniversary. Their life has been hell, not because they were married, but because they never found reality. What is this ridiculous, absurd obsession that both men and women have about getting married in order to feel secure, in order to feel right, in order to feel someone around to talk to? What is this mad obsession? I would think that you would have learned something over the years, and I would also think that you would have learned how to use all your past wrong experiences with men and women. I would think that you would have used the truths that you've learned here to start immediately to be a different kind of a man or a woman. And I'll tell you, men, how you can start. And I'll try to say it in a little different way this time than I've told you before. You men can start by giving up women. That's making a lot of you sad, isn't it? And you have no idea what I'm talking about, and yet you reacted and got sad. You have no idea what I'm talking about, and yet you reacted to it, which shows how foolish you are, how impulsive you are. It has to do, again, with simply thinking about a woman. You see her at a meeting like this or see her somewhere, and you think that she's going to give you something solid, something that will make you feel better. And so you fill your mind with thoughts about her face. Now, look at all the love songs. They give away what happens, don't they? Your beautiful eyes. How many ladies have beautiful eyes? If any man in this room was to completely give up thinking about women, he would understand them. How can you understand a dream or a nightmare? If your mind was clear, not stolen away by that pretty face with the pretty curls and the swirling skirts. If your own mind belonged to you, everything in the universe would belong to you, including every woman on earth. That is, you'd have command. No woman. Look, how many of you ever been deceived by a woman? Let's see your hand. See, you dumb clucks. Whose fault was it that you were deceived? Gentlemen, what did you want from her? How did you want to deceive her? Huh? You know what you had in mind. She did too, but she decided to trade with you. Now you both cried. When your mind is clear, either a man or a woman, when your mind is perfectly clear that is the only thing you need to have a 100% relationship that is right with a man or with a woman. You just try now to argue with that. You try to find a flaw in it. You work hard to try to hang on to the way you presently think, and you will fail miserably, and you know it. Because you know that your ways have never worked, and I guarantee you that they won't work in the future. But I will also guarantee you something on what you can call the positive side. That if you will give up all your schemes, gentlemen, that isn't going to be easy, is it? You've got boxfuls of them, huh? You give it all your little schemes about getting a woman and getting sex from her. You give those up completely so that you're not distracted by your own torment of having to think these thoughts, so that you're not distracted by your torment, I said, about thinking about getting a woman. And whether you get her or not doesn't make any difference. See, as long as you chase a woman, gentlemen, as long as you chase a woman, you're tormented. Not by her, of course. You're tormented by the fact that you chase in the first place. When you stop chasing after a woman, when you stop chasing her, you say, wait a minute, isn't that nice? Someone sure set me in the wrong direction, starting about junior high school, right? 6th grade, 7th grade. And all the boys talked about chasing girls. And you say, well, the thing to do is go around and chase girls. And so you chase them. And some of them let you catch them. You were together for a while. And so that your whole philosophy of life is to chase women in one way or another. And of course, 99% of the time pretending that you're not. You don't scare the quarry, is that the word? Scare the birds out in the bush. You don't scare them. You come in very gently and smoothly so you can snare them before they're aware of what happened. And you dumb ladies fall for it. You're really dumb. A man can charm you, a man can flatter you, and you fall for it. You say, this is the exception, and now you're caught again. The solution to every single human problem, including this horrible, tormenting one you have about male-female relationships, the only solution is a spiritual one. I give you your choice again. Here I said it right before you. And watch. You gentlemen, for example, you watch how you want to fight what I just said. Stop chasing them. Don't go after them anymore. Stay home and watch yourself walk consciously across the kitchen floor, cooking your own dinner. And by the way, both of you ladies and you gentlemen, have any of you arrived at the state yet where you find it absolutely marvelous to be all alone? Ladies, have you ever been with a man and wish you were alone? Huh? Well, now, what idiocy on your part caused you to get friendly with him in the first place? Stay home. Be all alone. Watch all the thoughts take the substitute of your usual physical action of going chasing around. Watch the thoughts substitute. Watch the feelings. Watch yourself scream in protest. Watch how you want to go out and keep doing the same old things. There's nothing you can do but watch it, you understand. You can't stop it. There's no way you can stop it. If you try to stop it, you'll just fail because it's all one thing. There's no one outside the state who can stop it. So all you can do is see yourself doing that and remember everything that we've talked about. I'll ask you again, and then we'll stop in a couple minutes. Now, it's very essential that you catch yourself lying. If you can't catch yourself lying, you can't make progress in any area, even in this sex area that we're talking about. Here's the question to both ladies and gentlemen. Who knows more about having a right, good, pleasant, enjoyable relationship with the opposite sex? Who knows more about it, you or God? Watch how you fight the very question, because inwardly you know the answer, but you don't want it to be the answer. Now, I feel sorry for a lot of you here, because I know how far downhill you have gone in wanting to be hurt. I know that you are under an evil hypnosis in which you kind of like getting involved with a man and getting involved with fighting with him, with despising him. Even in love, ladies, with him tossing you over, getting rid of you. Pretty famous dramatic act at that moment when he kicked you out, huh? When he said, I don't want to see you anymore. I'll see you around. It was nice, but, you know. Didn't you feel an intensity which you thought was life, which was nothing but nervous vibration to which you could put your name, your label, and you phone your mother, your sister, or the stupid psychiatrist who fights with his wife. You phone him and say, he left me. I tell you, ladies, if a man ever leaves you, rejoice. You have got rid of him as a problem, and now you've got a vacancy that you can fill up with something higher than male neurosis. I'll leave you with a question then. Who knows more about love, romance, sex? You or reality? Now, if you ever have the intelligence to decide in favor of reality, it itself will come in and prove itself to you. And you'll never, never, ever again, gentlemen, look at a woman and be pained in any way that you're not going to sleep with her. And you ladies, you'll look at a man and you'll never, ever again be pained that you might not land him. You understand too much. You know too much. And oh, both of you, oh, you've got this spiritual fierceness in you. That man makes one wrong move and your one glance sends him unmerrily on his way. You don't want anything to do with him, and vice versa. Both of you send away the opposite sex who try to come up to you with wrong motives, trying to hit and run. Because you can no longer hit and run. You will never accept it from anyone else. That is based on wisdom. And by the way, that is based on real, lasting, authentic love. What are we going to do about mannish women and feminine men? I want you to know, all of you, that the problem is far greater than you think. Even in what you call a normal man. See, a normal man, what you call a man who's husband, father, and all that, he has an enormous amount of masculine growing to do. He may be somewhat in charge of the house. He may make some of the decisions. But he's not a spiritual man, so all the rest has no meaning at all. See, think of the word growth, development, evolution. Now, when you came into the world, you came in undeveloped. And you grew up, and nature, your sexual nature, started to develop, started to assert itself. At a certain age, you girls started to notice boys, being attracted to them at a certain age, and vice versa, the boys started noticing the girls. Okay, so far. And then, because you don't understand life at all, your normal, right, and continuous, especially the word continuous, development into a real man and to a real woman was thrown off the track by your own parents, by everyone you met. No one ever instructed you rightly in continued growth into being a full woman and a full man. And you might as well know right now, both of you, men and women, you might as well know right now that unless you're a full man and a full woman, you're not spiritual at all. The two go together. Let me tell you a story that will illustrate it. You think of this, not just a little pleasant story, but it connects very much with the subject of male and female relations and boys and girls together. Here's a man, he buys an airplane. And he takes it up, and it doesn't fly right. It folders in midair, and it doesn't land right, and it just doesn't work right. Now listen to this. So he gets down on the ground. He says, there's something wrong with this airplane. I'm going to find out what it is. Now, certain conditioning in his life, when he was a little boy, he had a toy airplane, and something was wrong with the wings. So that conditioning comes into his mind now, and he says, there's something wrong with the wings of my airplane. So I'm going to have to fix them. Everybody knows it's the wings that keep the airplane up in the air, the main thing. So, yes, it did itch. So he said, I'm going to pay attention to the wings and correct them. So he went over them. Sure enough, he found some holes in the end of the wing that had to be patched up, and some of the wire controls to it were a little loose, so he had to tighten those up and fix the wings up all right. Took the airplane up, and it still faltered. Still wasn't under his control. Went crazy. Huh? You go sex crazy, some of you? Yeah, love crazy. Airplane wouldn't work right. So he went to an expert, and he said, I've gone over the wings of this airplane thoroughly, and it still doesn't work right. What can I do about it? The expert said, look, you've mentioned the wings 10 times to me, and you didn't mention the motor once. You didn't mention the landing wheels. You didn't mention the propeller once. All you do is mention the wings to me. The man said, well, in my mind, this is the single most important thing to make the plane fly. And the man said, no. The airplane, ladies and gentlemen, the human airplane is composed of many parts, right? You know, the basic parts, the physical body and how the mind works and your reactions and your feelings, you know all about that. Now here's what happens. We'll leave the man there fixing up his airplane by taking care of the motor and the wheels and everything else. A certain part of both men and women is just utterly, listen to this, and you'll agree with it, utterly fascinated by the word sex. The word, okay, we'll broaden it a little, the word romance, the word love, the word man, if you're a woman, and vice versa. You get obsessed by the word love, romance, sex. The man was obsessed with the wings. He didn't pay any attention to anything else. And you're so obsessed with the word sex, love, romance. You know what an obsession is? It's something that blocks out everything else, right? Here you have these strong feelings, you idiot men. You look at a woman and you lust after her. going to use your mind right toward her? When are you going to be emotionally right toward her? Oh, better yet, gentlemen. Oh, forget it. You're not going to be able to do it. When are you going to be able to see a woman through spiritual eyes? Well, you don't know what that means. There's no point trying to imagine what it is. But I'll tell you this. You'll be excited over this. You'll be excited over what I tell you, but will you do it? That's another matter. See, I told you before, and I'll repeat it now, to be a real man, you have to be a spiritual man. To be a spiritual man, you have to know how your mind works and how it works wrongly, right? What good is it going to do you to want a woman when you don't even know how to behave right toward her? Same thing, ladies. You want a man, or you have a man, and you want to get along with him. Could we start with a basic assumption? Fact, not assumption. That human beings are utterly stupid. Could we start with that? Good. We can start by saying, you don't even know the basics of getting along with people. Remember in a talk just a short time ago, I said, all you want is what you want. Well, does that describe you? All you want is what you want. You've got your attention, you foolish people. You men, you've got your attention on that pretty woman. You ladies, you see a man that you like. You'd like to come over and talk to you, date you or whatever. Whose life are you concerned with? Now, careful on this. It's a very deep question. You want that man or you want that woman? Oh, how sad that you have no regard for your life at all. I better tell you something. Ladies, I know you too. I've talked to you a lot. You want a man. Well, let's see. You men want a woman. Let's see. Who is doing the wanting? You're wing obsessed. See? All you can think about is I want the man. And then you play games down at the supermarket, both of you, when you see that nice looking clerk. Or that woman who's checking out right in front of you. And you don't know, because you don't know yourself, because you're off somewhere and sneaking back. See, there's such a thing as sneak thoughts toward a boy or a girl because you feel guilty and ashamed. It's because you think you are your thoughts, which you're not. So you stand in back of her, or him, back the check stand at the supermarket, and you think thoughts that torment you. I was watching Faces downstairs not long ago. I was watching some of you men when certain ladies were out there. Amen. I can read your mind. I can do more than that. I can read your emotions. And you know what it really was? The most prominent emotion of all? You listen to what you're living with, you men. Intense agony. Well, can you, I don't ask you to know it, can you suspect it? How many times have I told you that if you prefer agony, there's no way you can be rightly attractive to a woman. You don't get anything. You don't even know the start of what I'm talking about. Obsession. And you're not even the obsession. You're not even what you want. Which is why, when you occasionally, gentlemen and ladies, get what you want, you wonder how you're going to get rid of him. And you ladies ever wondered how you're going to get rid of him? Sure you have. Maybe right now, some of you here right now are thinking that. Could you even see that? Could you admit that? You see, let me tell you, one of the most dangerous things on earth to you, one of the most dangerous things on earth to you is your moral standards. I'm supposed to like that person because I'm with him or her. I'm supposed to like him or her, but I don't like him. But everyone says I'm supposed to, close relationships, I'm supposed to like him, but I don't like him. I must be a horrible human being. I must be terrible. Society condemns me, and maybe God will condemn me too. How would you like, among other liberties, to just leap out of that one and run away forever, where you'll be truly moral? See, you don't know what morality is. I'll tell you how to do it. Know that you're not any single part of the airplane at all. Has nothing to do with you, but you cling to that sexual part, or cling to the dreams of a beautiful romance. And you say to yourself, if I can get that, I will be happy. The very fact that you have this desperation and you have this obsession means when you get what you want, you won't want it after a while, but now you're stuck. How am I going to get over to both of you men and to you women, that there just happens to be, whether you want there to be or not, there just happens to be something higher than a male-female relationship? If that is your aim, what are you doing in this class? If that is your aim, don't you understand anything you've ever read in any of the books? Hasn't anything been able to filter through into your mind so that you can understand what we're really getting at here? We're getting at you not being obsessed by yourself. And if you weren't, if you could see that you have, the airplane has wings, a motor, the whole part that you're living in presently, that you have all these parts, and each one is wrong, each one has to be corrected. Then you see if you correct the wings a little bit, the motor will work right, because the whole thing is all connected, the controls, you know how an airplane works. And when all the parts work right, the airplane flies right, and you don't have to be concerned with it anymore. All right, I give you a challenging thought. How concerned are you with your life? Pretty much, huh? What's going to become of me? And maybe I'll get you. And I'll get you on this one. Maybe I'd better have all the fun I can before it's too late. I've been cheated all my life. It's about time I stop being cheated into you poor idiots. You go into imaginary relationships with a man or with a woman, don't you? Don't raise your hand. I already know. Don't you know that every time you think toward a man or toward a woman, every time you think instead of understand, that you're in a state of torment, that you're in a very inferior state of life? Now, If I asked all of you, what is the purpose of your life? You come to this class. You read books and hear tapes. Ask you what is the purpose of your life, you would get a clue from me saying the word purpose, and you would give the right answer. Wouldn't you? You'd give the answer that you think I want to hear, right? And you'd all say it in your own ways. Well, my purpose of life is to study myself and find out what I'm all about. My purpose of life is to straighten myself out and all that. See, this is what you say. Isn't it a sad thing to say one thing but feel another? See, we're talking about contradiction, aren't we? A lack of harmony between all the parts. Why don't you simply see sometime, as a little different experiment, why don't you suddenly see sometime that everything you do only makes you more desperate? Oh, the faces I saw a half hour and an hour ago, not just in watching the girls and the boys, but in other ways. I'll tell you what the term is. It's called being lost. And I'll tell you where you were lost, what you were lost into. Your favorite obsessions. You went where you usually go, back to your pet daydreams, back to your pet confusions. And your confusions are your escape. Now, this all adds up to one terrible thing. You've got a husband, you say? You've got a wife? You've got a girlfriend? Boyfriend? Too bad that you've got a husband, but you're not at ease. How sad that you've got a girlfriend and you're not at ease, are you? One of the best things that can ever happen to you, if you're a good student, a true student, is to lose everything. Yeah, lose your girlfriend. Lose one way or another. Lose your boyfriend. And the more you care, quote mark, because you're not capable of caring for anything, the more you care for him or her, the better it will be if disaster sets in, what you call disaster, and you're left all alone, crushed and crying. What a marvelous performance. Don't you ever believe, any of you, any time, any place, anywhere, that I ever feel sorry for any of you. You can bawl right in this room if you want. I am unmoved. You're not. Oh, what an excuse to cry. Thank heaven I've got something to cry over. I lost my man or my woman or some other problem. And I can bow my head and bawl. And if I'm lucky, someone will look at me and notice me. Boy, I'm not going to have anything to do with you devils. You're dangerous. Since when is hysteria intelligence? Come on. Yeah, you know there's no answer to that. Let's turn it around. Isn't hysteria stupidity? Isn't it weakness? Isn't it loss of control? Isn't it a cry for attention? Don't you tell me that's the best you can do. You go tell that to your sick girlfriends. Oh, you women, one of you has a problem, the rest of you come around. Pretend you're sympathetic. You're not sympathetic at all. You're enjoying the drama. She may be the star, but you're the stand-in. Ready for when she drops out of the play, your turn comes along. I'll listen to you bawl if you listen to me bawl, right? See, you won't let the props be knocked out. Well, let's look at that a little deeper. You're alone, you don't have a man, you don't have a woman. Yeah, maybe you don't cry with tears, but you cry inwardly. You idol worshiper. You worship your loneliness, which is stupidity. What can stupidity do for you but destroy you? By the way, do you understand that every word I've said since the start has to do with boys and girls together? See, what you would like, because you're so mixed up, is the repetition over and over of certain sex words, sexual relations, stuff like that. Ardent kisses, whatever. But if it goes too far, then it embarrasses you. But you want the speaker to say certain things that won't go too far that embarrasses you, so you get the thrill without the embarrassment. And even if you're embarrassed, there's something wrong with you. All right. The point is, what's the point in you continuing the way you are? I have no sympathy for you, no concern for you, because you are violators of the laws of God. And in actual fact, now and in the past and in the future, I have nothing to do with you at all. You don't love truth. You love confusion. You love agony. You love your bawling. You love anything that makes you the star of the show. And you and I, boy, I'll tell you, you and I have no friendship at all. You may think so. I might as well tell you right now, every single one of you in this room, whether you understand it or not, I keep 10,000 miles away from you. All I have to do is look at you and know the only thing to do with you is to stay away. Once in a while, I'll see someone with a little bit of rightness which is worth developing, and that's okay. So the fact is, you don't know what, look, okay, you don't know what sex is all about, right sex. You don't know what a right relationship between a man and a woman is all about. You don't know what you are all about. Don't know what life is all about. You don't know what God is all about. You don't even know what the devil is all about. You don't know that. Now the consequences of that is to be ill at ease. What? Nervous, uncertain, like a runaway horse running off in that direction and in that direction and back again. You ever seen a runaway horse? You've seen them maybe in movies. And after they get tired of running, they stand in the middle of the meadow there for a while and they just tremble, you know. For a while they are directionless. You don't know what to do. That's similar to you breaking down and bawling, whether it's publicly or in private. But anyway, you're ill at ease. I was, a long time ago, several years ago, I was listening to a radio show in which there was a host, and he was interviewing a guest. Listen to this illustration, it'll make it clearer. And this host of the radio show was interviewing a man who was a old-time, long-time gardener. Knew all the tricks of gardening. And I can't even think of the right examples, except maybe he knew how to prune trees and condition the soil for planting and right times to plant vegetables and things like that. And I wasn't particularly interested in the subject, but I found myself listening casually. And as I did, I found out what was of interest to me, which wasn't the pruning the fig trees. That guest, who was an expert in gardening, was 100% at ease. No matter what question that people called in from the, out in the world there, called into the studio, or the host himself asked a question. No matter what question was asked, he just gave the answer. No hesitation, no emotion, nothing wrong at all. He just, you know what he did? He stated the facts. And you could just tell, you would have, if you've heard of it, the man knew what he was talking about. Why was it ease? You know why it was ease, because he knew the whole story. Question. Scared of life? Right? Nod your head. Scared of life? Now look, please, let me tell you something. Please listen to me. If you're scared of life, you don't have to be scared of life. Now you try to get out of that. The next time you get scared, it's because you're a lawbreaker. The next time you're nervous or worried, let me tell you what you are. You're disobedient. Don't you tell me you don't know what to do. You know exactly what to do. Take any book. Take any talk, including this one. And you'll know what to do. You won't do it. You won't listen. Disobedient little children. All right. Teacher says, students, boys and girls, I'm going to give you the facts. If you want the facts and you want to work on them, and let me tell you how to use the facts, fine. If you don't, believe me, boys and girls, teacher says, I have nothing to do with you. And by the way, that's a fact in our personal relationship. Some of you idiots, a few of you idiots here, who go away from here and don't come back to classes either here or in LA or someplace else where you live. By the law of averages, there are a number of you here who will simply go away and disappear, and you will lie as to the reason for it. I have absolutely nothing to do with you, but you don't know that because you have a false relationship to truth. Therefore, by the way, you have a false one to me. All of you, including those of you who will fall away eventually and fall down to hell fast, have a wrong relationship with me because your thoughts operate wrong. You go into imagination. I'm telling you that there are some of you in this room, look, it's very simple, some of you in this room who believe you know 1,000 times more about life than I do. It's a fact. You think that. And if you fall away, that proves it. So let me tell you what you are. You're a monster to the opposite sex with whom you live or know. See, the monster you see on TV movies with the fangs and the wicked eyes, who does he care who he destroys? A monster doesn't discriminate. He just kills. If you're not sexually mature, you're a destroyer, Mr. Husband, Mrs. Wife, Miss Girlfriend, Mr. Boyfriend. You know, all it takes is one to be intelligent in a two-way stupid relationship. I mean, all it takes is for one of you to wake up. Then you might continue physically to live with that person. But you won't let him or her kill you anymore. I know you'll all agree with the statement that life is more than sex. You'll all agree with it, won't you? You'll agree? And there's a part of you that naturally understands that, but another part that destroys. Life is more than sex. Life is more than male-female relationship. Life is more than running around desperately getting a girlfriend and worried that maybe you won't get her because you didn't take her out enough. Worried that you won't get sex with her. Now, either you or God knows more about what life is all about. Which is it? Which are you going to choose? God who knows more, or you who thinks you know everything even more than God? Now, you don't, as I've told you many times, you don't know who God is, but you can begin to know who the devil is, and all you have to do is look inside yourself. And if you'd like something specific to examine besides the wings or the motor or the wheels, whatever, why don't you look and see all the agony that sex causes you in any way at all? Look how many painful sex thoughts you have. Romance thoughts. Yeah, you got a wife. Sure, you've got a wife, you got a husband. What's that got to do with it? You're still as wretched as you were when you first got married or first started the boy-girl relationship. You're still as wretched. Nothing has changed. Now, I'm going to finish by giving you a very simple fact. Here, right now, in this room, you have the power to make a decision. You have the power to make a decision to put yourself before everything and everyone. Now listen to me. When you do that, understanding what it means to put yourself first, that is the same thing as putting God first. God is the author of who you really can be through development. And you've got this small little desire to be right. That is a part of God's nature. You can make the decision right now to put your life ahead of the word sex, ahead of the pictures you see of half-clothed women, some handsome man that you see. You can make a decision as hard as it is, and you'll scream no, but there still remains a part of you that can do it, that can put truth first. Now let me tell you, that decision is the power to continue. See, you're afraid that if you make a decision, I won't be able to make it stick. It is not your part to make it stick. It's your part to give up. Decide to give up. Now you're in for the conscious struggle of your life. See, you're soldiers out on the battlefield, but you've got a few shells lobbed your way, which made you dizzy, and you're wandering around, eyes half closed, and a dazed, fighting all the other soldiers out there, including women, including men. You're out there fighting them. The soldier can come to his senses so that God can begin to clear his mind. And with the beginning of the clearing of the mind, something happens that has never happened to you before, which means you now know that you're on the battlefield. There's no way that can be explained, the difference. You're out there struggling around, firing a rifle at everybody. You don't know you're doing it. But now, if you receive, you know that you're out there fighting. And when you know you're fighting, you finally understand whose side you have to be on. Which is the side, listen, which is the side of that little bit of light that made you realize that you're in a battle. After all, the hypocritical born-again Christians don't have a battle consciously. They're all insane without knowing it. See, fighting on the battlefield. We're trying to know that we're in a battle. This is why we talk about you and your frustrations sexually and toward men and women. Invite the light. Invite it to come in and change you, and don't think about it. If you think, you'll distort, because thinking is you. The whole thing boils down to you getting yourself out of the way. Wouldn't you like something to straighten you out? Yeah, you say yes. One of the purposes of this class is to show you that you don't even want to wake up. That you want to fight, and you want to cry. Notice how often you cry, whether with tears here or all alone. Your face drops the minute you go out of here. Your face drops, the party's over. I give you an assignment which will start you on all we've talked about. Walk around here and down there and everywhere else as awake as you can be from now on. I'm here. Not only am I here, seated here, but I'm looking at this lady. And I heard the music, and I understood the reaction the music made on my mind. It mentioned Chicago, and I was born in Chicago. Self-reference. Know where you are, see what's happening to you. The sex problems, all men problems, all women problems will vanish. Truth guarantees it. This is how things worked out. There was a man and there was a woman. And they're different, right? Boys are different from girls. Now, that means that because the physical is different, also the psychological is different. There are different requirements for a boy and for a girl. Both have responsibilities. And don't you ever let anyone tell you that the responsibilities are the same, because they're not. Anyone who tells you that they're the same is a very confused man or woman who can't get along with the opposite sex. See, inadequate people try to level things so that by the psychological leveling, their low position can't be detected. And this applies to all of society, not just between men and women. People are not equal in intelligence. They are not equal in spirituality. In fact, there's very little to be equal about. People are high and they are low in many ways. So there is a difference in a male human and a female human as follows. A woman has been given, not by me, not by psychology, and not by words or books. A woman has been given by God, by nature, you like that word, capital N, that's okay. Same thing. Has been given a certain responsibility. We're talking about women now. They're given a very definite responsibility, things to do. And to put it in summary at the very start, a woman is 100% responsible for herself as a woman. You'll see what this means a little later, maybe. A man, on the other hand, has two responsibilities. And if you ladies feel good about what I'm going to say, that is a right goodness. You're not being leaping on something just to feel good. I'm telling you, any good feeling you hear and respond to is a right feeling. A woman is responsible for herself 100%. A man is responsible for himself 100% and also for the woman 100%. There's no confusion there in figures at all. Don't you understand, ladies, that you have to be responsible for what you're supposed to be doing here on earth, and it isn't to find a man. And it isn't to live in dream pictures about that marvelous man who's going to come along. You build him up much too high. They're not on your standards at all. No wonder you're always disappointed when you set high standards and they don't exist. But we're not talking about that. We're talking about you having a responsibility as a woman, and as a woman you have a responsibility for mental, spiritual, and emotional development. Right there. Stop right there. Leave men out of it for now. Forget them. Here you are, right now, listening to me, having a certain femaleness. Oh no, an awful lot of wrong emotionalism, huh? Wrong thoughts, wrong yearnings. You are here to understand why you are not a right woman. A wrong woman, an undeveloped woman, that's what a wrong woman is, undeveloped, or a man, comes into the world and they see mama and papa get married and they have children. And you see the horror of family life, but you still think that there's an ideal. They just happen to miss it. And so you've put up in your mind some kind of an ideal situation of how it's going to be when you meet a man. See, listen to what I'm saying, because you're not catching it so far. You haven't got it so far. Your responsibility is to not make yourself acceptable to a man. How are you going to do that when you can never please him anyway? And the more spiritual you get, by the way, the less you're going to please him, because he doesn't want anything to do with that. So not just emphasis, please, but your whole slant, your whole aim toward life should be to do what God intended you to do as a woman. You have a lot more feelings in a man, a lot more emotions, and they're a lot wilder than a man, and you know that. That means that is where you're going to get rid of your emotions. A woman can understand her emotions just as much as a man can. Just because they're stronger doesn't mean a thing. So you're going to put your emphasis in life forgetting the secondary, the thirdary, and the fourthary, which is a man and which is marriage too. And you're going to ask yourself this question. I'm lonely. I'm worried. I'm weak. Anything can set me off. I cry a lot at home. Boy, I'll tell you, I must not be a very nice woman to trick a man into marrying what I am. You ladies are as conscienceless as the men are. And so you get married to him in your state, and look what happens. And that will leave the women for a minute. Now, I said a man is 100% responsible for himself, and also 100% responsible for the woman. Now, there's no contradiction. Don't ask me there is none. Let's go over it very briefly. You be 100% responsible for yourself. Stop right there, all right? Now, don't try to get out of that. You just do it. The man being responsible, is responsible for himself, and also 100% responsible for you, which does not absolve you from your responsibility. Now, what is a man going to do with all this? First of all, if he's going to understand himself, which he can do if he works hard enough, if he understands himself, if he understands his true maleness, he will understand your femaleness, and that understanding, that insight in itself, makes him want to be responsible for you, not as a burden. The millions of marriages and romances in the world where they're both a burden to each other, each looking to each other. You know, ladies, what in your heart at least you know it, if you don't know it any other way. You know what you want a man to be. And if you're 100% responsible for yourself, that is, you're learning, you're growing, and you're developing, you will understand your femaleness, and you will understand his maleness, and you will say, I understand. I can't have anything that is unfemale in me at all. Which is not the same thing as being weak. Look, since when is a woman who really understands herself, since when is that being weak? That is being strong. I might as well tell you right now, a right matching between a man who will take full responsibility for himself and full responsibility for the woman, and a woman who's taken 100% responsibility for herself, that kind of match is 1 in a million. Because that match isn't prominent, isn't common. That is why all relationships are so very bad. Now, gentlemen, listen to me. There is a pleasure, an enormous pleasure, and a natural pleasure without the slightest effort or burden to it. An enormous pleasure in you taking 100% in charge, being in 100% in charge of the woman. Now the pleasure originates in your condition, in your state. You are right, and you never, gentlemen, you never have a thought about the women such as this. How can I please her? How can I dominate her? How can I figure her out? How can I hold her? How can I get what I want from her? I got you on that one, didn't I? How can I get what I want for her? A man who has taken responsibility spiritually never has to think toward a woman. He doesn't have to think about love. He doesn't have to think about romance. He doesn't have to think about sex. He doesn't have to think about anything. Do you see why? I'll tell you why. He has something much higher than that. When you live from the higher, you don't think about the lower. See, sex, romance, your dream pictures of going out and you're waltzing out on the floor and the dream man comes up. Leave that to the popular novels. Ladies, there is such a thing as conscious disdain of a man, and I want you to have it 100%. He watches you, and he watches for the slightest weak look on your face, and he knows he's got you. And after you've given him that conscious disdain about 100 times, it'll get through his thick head. But he'll forget and come back. Now you have to do it again. I think you get the point. See, your problem is you don't want to send him that message because you want a man more than you want God. How long do you think you're going to have him? 10 years? 30 years? 60 years? How long do you think you're going to have him? How long do you want your spirit? What are you putting first? Put God first. Put truth first. Both of you, both men and women. I'll guarantee you something. You put truth first. All the answers will come to you, gentlemen, about a woman and vice versa. You as an individual, not as a man or woman in society, but as an individual who is broken away from society and thinks from a spirit, not from society. Once you have this pleasure of true wisdom, of spiritual wisdom about the opposite sex, all problems vanish. You put your spirit first instead of your former longings, which have been put out of the way through the ascension of spiritual truth. All is well. I guarantee you, all is well.